Anyway, it would seem that Crowleyan prophecy is indeed being fulfilled today on Mars by the great inheritors, whoever they are, of the Word of God at JPL. It's time the rest of us joined in this crucial conversation. To paraphrase Ronald Reagan, which I do not often do, after all, we are paying for this microphone. Thank you. Before I end with a bang and not a whimper, and we will have about half an hour for questions, I have been obviously conveyed a note. No secrets here. This is from the anonymous author of the piece in Atlantis Rising by the military affairs analyst I spoke of before, who apparently is here tonight, who wants you to know that the upcoming piece on the September 11th conference is, when is it going to come out?
A couple of weeks.
Oh, it's that soon.
Yeah,
okay.
It's the next issue.
And next issue. Is that the one with also Tennant's material in it?
I don't know.
Because he said November, so I mean that's November.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was told they're past deadline, so it's the next issue. It should be number 13, interestingly enough.
Really? Okay. And I've misspelled something. Oh, okay.
The rest of that's just for you.
It's just for me? Oh, you mean I can't read it? Good news, bad news. Okay. Anyway. All right. I want to get to the MacGuffin, the ultimate MacGuffin. And then I'm going to end with a piece of film. Can you put in the last tape, the one that was on the bottom, on the Sphinx? I am not very pleased with the direction that this investigation is taking, because I really have an innate deep revulsion when I see pictures of human beings treated as they were at Buchenwald and Auschwitz and places like that. And like an awful lot of other people, I thought that was all safely in the past. And I'm at some level of denial, because intellectually I know that at the end of the war, we literally, as part of official U.S. government policy, brought thousands of Nazis, including some very prominent rocket engineers and scientists. And they were taken into our bosom to literally forge the means to take us to the moon. And it was done through an Army operation called Operation Paperclip. Well, remember, JPL was, before it was a civilian NASA contractor, was in fact part and parcel of the Army, of the Ordnance Division. Many of these former Nazis, is that an oxymoron? Came literally to California and went to work at JPL. There are overwhelming paper trails now indicating that the philosophy, the occult secret agendas behind much of the Nazi inexplicability, which is never dealt with except suddenly for the first time in this Modern History Channel reprise of the occult origins of Nazism, which is a fascinating insight into something which doesn't make any other sense. We're brought home just up the street at JPL. And what appears to have occurred is the beast simply took us over, quietly, in part, in major segments of the most important program, the early warning system of humanity itself. Now, how do I know that? It's because of signatures. I have run the data on the various lunar stuff. You know, I'll pop this up again, all right? I've run this by engineer after engineer after engineer formerly involved with the space program. Some people like Marv Zarnik, who worked for many, many years at McDonnell Douglas, who worked with Aldrin, who worked with the rendezvous and orbital equations for not only orbital rendezvous for Gemini, but also on Apollo, on the shuttle. I mean, he's worked on everything. When I showed him these computer results, and he was able to go and check them by getting a copy of Redshift himself and running the numbers and taking the data from NASA's own publications of the times of landing and launching and all that, he was staggered and extremely distraught, because it was obvious to him that his entire profession had been in service to a lie. This has to have been the most important reason for landing on that Sunday evening on July 20th. None other reason need apply. Because you couldn't get to that piece of real estate when this star was at that angle unless you planned it. And it had to be the number one priority. Now, who was behind the plan? And were there more than one set of masters? And has there been some kind of coup inside NASA? Did it start out as a light work a la the Masonic Founding Fathers tradition? And did it get taken over by the pirates, the neo-Nazis who we brought in, who then staged a palace coup? I don't know. I'm going to find out. With a little help, I'm going to find out. And we're well on our way to finding out. It is non-trivial to find out. Well, let me show you where this has now taken, where this twist, which has so confounded the folks on our website who are in anguish that I would dare to put this stuff on the web without telling them what it means yet. And I don't intend to tell them what it means. I want them to do their own damn homework. It's time people didn't look at a screen and say, somebody ought to do something. It's time we all did something. Because the situation now is very similar to in Germany before World War II. Things are slipping inexorably away from democratic institutions and into a big brotherism, which frankly scares me to death. And I would never imagine, in pursuit of things on Mars, that it would have any possible practical relevance to my going out here, getting in a car, driving down the street, and being picked up and slammed into jail by some cop who doesn't like the way I look. And if I was black, what are the odds that that would happen after midnight in a nice suburb, et cetera, et cetera? In other words, we're looking at the progressive events that have taken place before, and like you turn the water up on the frog at some point doesn't even know it's boiled to death until it's too late.
We have a go for main engine start. 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have booster ignition and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, lighting up the nighttime.
Look at that! Woo! Oh my gosh! It's shooting it right off our plane at now. Oh, it's so bright. Look in there.
51.6 degrees, 136 by 36 roughly mile orbit. The Florida coast with an early sunrise, and Endeavour heads out on a course to intercept the International Space Station in a day and a half.